Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Gopijana Balaba Girivanadari Gopijana Balaba Girivanadari Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanatari Jamuna Tira Vanatari Jagaro Madhava Kunda Bihari Gopijana Balaba Girivanadari Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanatari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Whoa! Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Oh! Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Whoa! Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Priya Jagacharya Siddhar Shisham, the Divine Grace of Bhaicharan Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Jagaguru Srila Prabhupada Ki. Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Nam Char Shlai Das Thakur Ki. Prem Shri Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Say Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki. Vrindavan Dham Ki. Mathura Dham Ki. Dwarka Dham Ki. Navri Dham Ki. Jagannathpuri Dham Ki. Chamuna Mai Ki. Ganga Mai Ki. Tulsi Maharani Ki. Bhakti Devi Ki. Sambheda Bhakta Vinda Ki. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Say Sri Radha Kirti Ki. Shri Krishna Sankirtana Jaga Ki. Gopremanande. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the divine lotus feet, the Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. That's interesting. Krishna Swadamo Bhagate Dhammaganari Pisaha Kalanda Sadisham Mesha Parano Kodadodata Narayanam Skrichananam Chaivam Narotama Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mutirayat. The Bhagavatam is Brinda's son. It had arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied with knowledge, religion, etc. Persons who have lost their vision of the dense darkness of the age of Kali shall get light out of this Purana. Before beginning our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should first offer respects to the personality of God in Narayan, to the Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, the goddess of living Mother Saraswati, the author Srila Vyasadeva, and my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yo Nushmarati Sandhyayam Yusman Anudinam Nadaha Tasya Bhartras Hare Krishna Bhartrasu Atma Samyam Tata Bhuteshu Sohridam Yo Nishmarati Sandhyayam Yusman Anudinam Naraha Tasya Bhratrasvatma Samyam Tata Bhuteshu Sohridam Yo Nusmarati Sandhyayam Yusman Anudinam Naraha Tasya Bhratrasvatma Samyam Tata Bhuteshu Sohridam Yo Nusmarati Sandhyayam Yusman Aruninam Naraha Tasya Bhratrasvatma Samyam Tata Bhuteshu Sohridam. Yonishmarati Sandhyayam Yusman Anudinam Naraha Tasya Bratvatmataram Yonusmarati Sandhyayam Yusman Anudinam Saraha Dasya Bratvat Yonusmarati Sandhyayam Yusman Anudinam Naraha Shashvabhat Atmasamyam Tatabhuteshu Sauridam Ya, one who Anusmarati always remembers Sandhyayam in the evening, Yusman you, Anudinam every day, Nara human being, Tasya Bratrishu with his brothers, Atmasamyam personal equality, Tata as also, Bhuteshu with all living beings, Sauhridam friendship. The Lord continued, those who remember you every evening of every day will become friendly with their brothers and with all other living entities. Also you say. The Lord continued, those who remember you every evening of every day will become friendly with their brothers and with all other living entities. Now we're going to do 10, verse 10, because there's no purport to this, but I did want to say something about this. Because, let's see, what have we got going on here? Okay. I mean, this is a big goal. Friendly, peace. Everybody wants peace. They want universal brotherhood, sisterhood. What do we call it now? Humanhood? What do we call it? Entityhood? Whatever we call it. Everybody wants it. You know, well, at least they do lip service to it. And they spend, I don't know what the budget of the United Nations. Anyone know what the budget? You need someone with a quick Google search. What is the budget of the annual budget of the United Nations? They're spending billions and billions of dollars on it. So this verse, and Prabhupada points about the United Nations, all they do is put up more flags, which means there's more divisions, you know. So what is the secret? What in this verse, what is the secret for creating this brotherhood? I'll give you another example. And I've given it before, and I'll give it again. The basis of American jurisprudence, of our democracy, of our legal system, it rests in the Bill of Rights, and it says, I think it's the Bill, or maybe it's the Declaration of Independence, whatever it is, we hold these truths to be self-evident. In other words, they're axiomatic absolute principle. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all people, of course they say men, but we're adjusting accordingly, that to be created equal. We hold all people to be created equal. Now, on the material level, is that an accurate statement? Because they're saying it's axiomatic truth. We hold these truths to be self-evident. And it's the whole basis of American democracy. And when you go before the law, when you stand before the bar of justice, she's blind. Everyone is equal. And she's blind in many ways. She's not, that's another story. But why? I mean, are we all created equal in this room on the material level? No, not at all. And in fact, we don't like being created. If we were all, don't treat me as a rubber stamp, a machine. I'm not just a number. I'm a person. I'm a unique individual. So rather, it's the glory of selfhood that I'm not created equal. So is the American Constitution lying to us? Or our founding fathers bogus? Bhakti, Alex. On what premise do they make this statement, which connects to the verse, which is the secret of peace and brotherhood? That they recognize, how are we all equal in a family, in a good parents? All the children are all equal. Because they're what makes a family is they have a common bond, and that bond of a common parent. So if we recognize, well, hang on a minute, just I remember many, many years ago, whatever that was, 1969, so you can do the math. I was just kind of wrapping my mind around. I would come for lunch sometimes with the devotees at the Laguna Beach Temple. And I just got such a kick out of the devotees that they just saw the world in a completely different way. So, small little room, I don't know what, from Raj to Mike at the most, and to me, not even that big, half that, or two-thirds. So, and the prasadam was laid, the Raj Bhog was laid out, and the devotees were all sitting there, taking prasad. And a little mouse came out of the wall. And the little mouse kind of made a skirted dash towards the prasadam pie stacked there. There was some rice and some chapat, but freaked and went back. And then he darted out again, and he didn't have the courage to go the whole way. And the devotees were just watching. And then finally the little mouse got the courage, grabbed the grain of rice, and when he grabbed the grain of rice and started to dart, all the devotees went, Prabhu! That this living entity had joined the community of Vaishnavas and was taking prasadam. I said, these people are too much. This is where I want to be. I want to be with these people. So that common bond that, well, hang on a minute. I can't. Cook up my brother, or cheat my sister. If you're actually, at least that much I'll cheat everybody else, but not my, So there it is. I just wanted to make that point and I remember, so this is that, again, and anyone know the verse that Prabhupada says is the peace formula? Bhuktaram jagatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam gyatvamam shantim Richati, Shantam, you'll achieve peace. Suhridam, best friend, owner of everything, controller, goal of all the austerities, all jagas. It's all Krishna. So one who understands that person becomes peaceful. That person sees everyone as a brother. And otherwise you just cannot do it. There's nothing else that works. Okay. And one last thing, I was just thinking about it. Prabhupada spoke on a radio show. It was so blissful. It was in Los Angeles, 1970, late spring, and June or July. And the radio show was late at night. So I remember, anyway, it was like listening to a prize fight late at night. I remember listening when I was a kid to Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali, when he fought Sonny Liston. And we all gathered around. It was over in a minute or two, But anyway, everybody gathered around the thing. It was late at night. So the same thing, we all gathered around. And this guy was famous for criticizing. I think it was Joe Pine, but I can't remember. He had like 6 million. The devotees told Prabhupada, you don't want to go. The whole Rasas, he slaps around the whoever the guest is. Of course, we know Prabhupada's an old Calcutta boy. But and Prabhupada asked only one question. He asked, what is the audience? And they said, it was like 5 million people, 4 million people, whatever it was. I remember it was not, but it's certainly over 1 million. So Prabhupada went. And
It was a whole series, but it got to the point that the man became, because he couldn't get a hold, it was like wrestling, and he couldn't get a grip on Prabhupada, you know. It's like they say, it wasn't the exact same, it was like when they said, you know, you're a freeloader. Prabhupada said, yes, you got free passage, or, you know, you're just a yes man. Yes, the whole purpose of Gita, you know. So Prabhupada was just unfazed by the guy. And finally the guy, in exasperation, said, what would happen if the whole world became Krishna conscious? And Prabhupada said to him, now the guy had been slapping around Prabhupada, trying to slap Prabhupada around for about 25 minutes. So, you know, and Prabhupada had just been tolerant and peaceful and, you know, working around the guy. So when the guy said, well, what would happen if the whole world became Krishna conscious? Prabhupada said, don't worry. There'll always be fools like you who won't. And I swear to you, the guy was stunned. There was a pause on the radio. There was like, you know, it took him a while to recover. Now, when Prabhupada got back, we welcomed him back like the boxing champ. It was about 11 o'clock at night. Prabhupada got back, and Prabhupada said, Dayananda was the temple president. Dayananda said, oh, Prabhupada, when you said that, he didn't know what to say. Prabhupada said, I can say this, you cannot. Prabhupada said, it is the special dispensation for old men and little children. They can go anywhere and they can say anything. So, you know, an old man, what are you going to do? They could, you know, what can you do? They could, you know, you can't, you know. So Prabhupada took advantage of that special license and just let the guy have it. But the point I wanted to make was that, and it was good, it put him in his position. And because he'd argued at what was sweet, and I saw it happen a couple of times. I want to get to something else, but just to wrap up this, the guy was harping on how that the chanting, especially in those days, you know, the chanting, you know, was for mindless robots and dulled one's intelligence and was brainwashing. Of course, they don't talk about Gregorian chants in the Catholic Church that they've been chanting, you know, or, you know, so many things. That, if somehow that's okay, but anyway, or chanting on rosary, but that's another story. So and after Prabhupada hit him with that, you know, don't worry, there'll always be fools like you who won't. The guy really kind of ran out of ammunition, and he'd oh, I've got a worthy component here, whatever, combatant. But at the end, he had no more. He wasn't going to open up and ask another question, and he actually said to Prabhupada, "Swami, can you chant?" Because there were a couple of devotees with Prabhupada, and they ended the program with a nice, you know, kirtan. It went over, you know, all over, you know, Orange County, L.A. County, San Bernardino County, Southern California. So it was a real victory by Prabhupada. But the point I wanted to make was that Prabhupada then began, after Prabhupada, you know, just stopped the guy in his tracks. And then Prabhupada said, actually, if everyone chants, and he began to describe how it would never go below a certain degree. It would always be, you know, rain. Prabhupada said it would only rain in the evening after the animals were in. You know, Prabhupada began to describe Satya Yuga. So it's a fact. If people become Krishna conscious, you know, everybody gets along. Prabhupada was describing that he said, even 200 years ago in Kashmir, because he had a good now the last king of Kashmir was a weasel, but 200 years from 1970, Prabhupada speaking 1970, so you can do the math. So 1770, Prabhupada said the king of Kashmir was such a strict Vaishnava that Prabhupada said if you left something on the road, you forgot it or left it somewhere, you know, on the bus, because there's no bus, but on the Tunga or whatever it was, no one would touch it, because they would think, well, it doesn't belong to me, and whoever left it there, they're going to come back and get it. They're going to remember they lost it, so they wouldn't touch it, you know. And Prabhupada said, and this is not, you know, for weak will, acquiescence to exploitation, so don't send me an email about that, or, you know, text me or whatever. But Prabhupada said that there was an artificial famine created by the British, and I forget whether it was World War I or World War II, but it was to get Indians to join because they were desperate for soldiers, and it was to get if you got army rations and your family got army rations, and so therefore they were just squeezing India to get people to join the army because they were desperate for soldiers, and Prabhupada said that there would have been a riot anywhere, in England or America, or they just would, or take example of Russia where there was a revolution. Prabhupada said there would have been revolution, but the people were so pious that they thought, well, God has put us in this situation, so let us just depend on the Lord, and just somehow or other due to my karma. So that I'm not talking about acquiescence to exploitation, but that principle of peacefulness. Well, I'm not envious. Okay, Krishna's put me in this position. He's put that person in that position, and let me do my duty, because after all, there will be a next life, and whatever I do in this life will determine my next life. And why am I here? Is because what I did in my last life. So that continuity and that peacefulness, that awareness that I'm in the hands of Krishna, yokesh mam vahami aham. So that's what Prabhupada's talking about here. It's not. It is the key. And if they don't understand that, then they're just gonna never get there. Okay. So the next verse. Okay. Because I wanted to talk about intelligence, and maybe I'll get some by doing so. So the next verse, we're just going to. I will briefly say the Sanskrit and then we'll read the Ye tumam rudugitena sayam pratar samahita stuvantyaham kamavaran dasye pragyam shirsobanam. Those who will offer me the prayers composed by Lord Shiva, both in the morning and in the evening, will be given benedictions by me. Okay, tune in, folks. What are those benedictions? In this way, they can both fulfill their desires and attain good intelligence. I'll say, you say. Those who will offer me the prayers composed by Lord Shiva, both in the morning and in the evening, will be given benedictions by me. In this way, they can both fulfill their desires and attain good intelligence. And Prabhupada's purport hones in on this good intelligence. Good intelligence means going back home, back to Godhead. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Tesham Satati Yuktanam Bhajitam Pritipurvakam Dadami Buddha Yogam Tam Yena Mam Upayante. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. One who offers prayers to the Lord to fulfill his different desires must know that the highest perfectional fulfillment of desire is to go back home, back to Godhead. In this verse, it's indicated that those who remember the activities of the Prachetas, the sons of King Prachini-Barishat, will be delivered and blessed. So what to speak of King Prachini-Barishat, who are directly connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So just remembering them, but what about them themselves? This is the way of the Parampara system. If we follow the Acharyas, we attain the same benefit as our predecessors. If one follows the decisions of Arjuna, he should be considered to be directly hearing Bhagavad Gita from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's no difference between hearing Bhagavad Gita directly from the Supreme Lord and following a personality like Arjuna, who formerly heard Bhagavad Gita directly from the Lord. Sometimes foolish people argue that since Krishna is not present at the moment, one cannot take direct instruction from him. Such foolish people do not know that there's no difference between directly hearing Bhagavad Gita and reading it, as long as one accepts Bhagavad Gita as it is, spoken by the Lord. However, if one wants to understand Bhagavad Gita by its imperfect interpretations, one cannot possibly understand the mysteries of Bhagavad Gita, even though one may be a great scholar according to mundane estimations. Omaganatevarandasya gyanagana salakaya jakshushmantangena tazare shi gurave namaha. So we've got two components here. That this benediction, that you'll get to fulfill your desires and get good intelligence. Now, does this mean that Krishna's going to give me a red Ferrari? As we discussed, who can remember a week ago? Who can remember what they were doing yesterday? But that's another thing. We mentioned that because I read ahead and I read back. And when Prabhupada talks about Krishna, what are some Krishna fulfilling the desires? What is he doing? It's talking about fulfilling. Krishna fulfills the desires of his devotees to serve him. And Prabhupada gives the example like a father likes to see the children happy, but he won't let the child, give him the keys to a car because the kid doesn't know how to drive. He'll kill himself. But he'll give him a little play set, little play car, or whatever. Beep beep, honk the horn, and turn the lights off and on. Think you're driving a car. So, and Prabhupada gives the example of Yudhishthira Maharaj. He gives the example of Dhruva Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Bali Maharaj. That Krishna fulfilled their desires, but what were the nature of their desires? They wanted to serve. They wanted to say, you went the wrong way on that one. They wanted to serve. So Krishna will fulfill, it's not a blessing if Krishna fulfills my material desires. That's the whole misconception. God's going to give me, if I put jihad and I get, was it 12 virgins or 7 virgins or 21 virgins or, whatever it is, 70 virgins. Hey, now anybody who's been married will tell you, hey, one wife is a pain. I don't want 70. After the glitter wears off, forget it, man. That's the last thing in the world I want to do is have 7 women in my life. And the women can say, the last thing I want is 7 husbands, So it's just foolishness. So what it means is that Krishna fulfills the desires of the devotees. And the devotees are full of desires to serve Krishna. I remember it was a turning point in my life. I had I don't really want to say friend, but I had an associate who somehow or other, and I guess he is my friend, I should act to be fair. They had that, it was a 45, they'd gotten in London of the Hare Krishna, no, maybe it was the full album, whatever it was, but it had Prabhupada's lecture on it. It had that. It was the full LP because it had that Prabhupada reading, and it's actually, I think, by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And I was off in my own fog, and but all of a sudden I heard Prabhupada say, reading, the devotees have no desire to fulfill. Because I understood that desire gets you entangled. You desire, there's karma and there's reactions and then so I got to become free from desire, but the desire to become desireless is a self-centered desire. Seems like an endless regress. And does this mean you become a dull stone? You have no desire, means no motivation. So you just sit there. I mean, what is that? That's so I was just tossing that around in my head. And I heard Prabhupada say the devotees have no desire to fulfill. I said, okay, well, I know where that train ends. But does anyone know the next sentence? As still the devotees have unlimited desires to satisfy their Lord in loving service. And I thought, bam! It hit me like that's it. They have no personal, self-centered desire. I shouldn't even say personal because they have all kinds of personal desires. I want to serve Krishna. Someone wants to cook for Krishna. Someone wants to dress Krishna. Somebody wants to go out and speak the glories of Krishna. So devotees have all kinds of personal desires. I like to garden. I like to cook. I like to read. I like to do a whole lot of things for Krishna. So it's not even personal, but Prabhupada said, still the devotees have variegated transcendental desires to serve their Lord in loving service. Please their Lord in loving service. And that's the answer. It turns the whole key. What do I do with desire? Just direct it properly. And then all of a sudden a whole life, a whole world of activity opens up. The world becomes our pearl. Or as Prabhupada told Bhavananda, you take the kingdom of God and enjoy. For Krishna, it is enjoyment. Okay, so there I wanted to say something. Now the other thing is, so that's desire. The blessing is that Krishna fulfills our desires to serve him in loving service. Now, what does it mean, good intelligence? Because that's the other blessing, is to get good intelligence. We mentioned last week, that Lord Shiva gave a lot of blessings. But just getting the blessings, what did not come with those blessings as mentioned in this verse? It's a low, soft pitch there, Prabhus. Who said that? They did not get good intelligence. So why do we need good intelligence? So I did a little survey of verses in Bhagavad Gita about intelligence. We're going to jump into that in a second. But if one does not have good intelligence but gets powerful benedictions, we're talking about Lord Shiva. Anyone remember a refresher course from last week? Who are some people who got very, very powerful benedictions minus good intelligence from Lord Shiva? Ravana. How did that turn out? That work out well? No. Tried to steal Sita, tried to enjoy the material nature separate from God. Brikasura, that didn't turn out. Also, Pandraka. I was reading in Krishna book, Pandraka, got his benediction from the Lord Shiva. He could look like Krishna, and Prabhupada said he actually looked quite, I mean, in the picture it looks kind of Mickey Mouse, but if you read in the Bhagavatam, he actually did look a whole lot. It wasn't just he was there with a, like we've got the picture of the masking tape and the tape duck 2 arms, No, he actually looked, he actually looked like Krishna, and had potency of Krishna. Okay, so, and Banasura, of course. So Prabhupada talks, so Krishna talks about what is, because we want the blessing of good intelligence. What is that good intelligence? I mean, J. Paul Getty had good intelligence. Bill Gates had good intelligence materially, Hugh Hefner. Of course, he's a rabbit in Arizona now, or I don't know where he is. Huh? If he's lucky. Yeah, if he's lucky. Yeah, he's a rabbit being chased by a coyote. That's where he is. So, but anyway, so what is the nature of spiritual good intelligence? And we'll rattle these off because we're a little bit late. So one is, anyone know? Anyone want to guess from Bhagavad Gita? Ekeha Kurunandana. How is that good intelligence? What does that mean? Anyone want to say? Other than Raj? And what is the essence of that one-pointed intelligence? It's fixed on the order of one's spiritual master. So that's good intelligence. Prabhupada says to see the fallacy of worshiping to enjoy. That I'm worshiping the devas and I want to enjoy. One understands that's not really enjoyment. I'm not going to enjoy what does Krishna say that happiness in the mode of passion, what is its nature? It's nectar in the beginning and it's bitter in the end. Don't go to school, play all day, eat candy, you'll wind up a toothless idiot. So there it is. Sweet in the beginning, bitter in the end. So that intelligence is to see the fallacy of, what is it? Om Jaya Jagadishari, give me a new car and a house by the sea. Or when I get to heaven, gonna see them pearly gates. When I get to heaven, gonna eat them chops and steaks. God is in it, that's got nothing to do with it. I want to enjoy. So that the intelligence to see the fallacy of the enjoying spirit. That's good intelligence. To see through the forest of delusion, Krishna says. Prabhupada gives a great story. I was listening to it, and you probably heard it before. But, worshiping the devas, worshiping the demigods, and you get a result. But that's not good intelligence. Prabhupada points out that the simple villager, he had some problem, and some spat, and the local constable came, police officer, and settled it. So I thought, let me become a police officer. But then he saw that the police officer was following the chief of police. Well, let me become the chief of police. But the chief of the police was following a mayor. Let me become the mayor. The mayor was following the governor. Let me become the governor. Governor was following the prime minister. Well, let me be, prime minister was following the king. Let me become the king. But he saw that the king was bowing down to his guru. So let me become a learned Brahmin guru. But what was the learned Brahmin Vaishnav guru doing? That's a hint. Worshipping the deity. So he concluded, well, let me just go to the source. Let me just worship Krishna. That's the best. So that's intelligence, to see, okay, what does it all rest upon? Sankhya Yoga. To see through the flowery words of the Vedas. The intelligence to restrain the senses. That takes intelligence. Well, okay. I remember, and I've mentioned it before, well, here we go again. It's a long story, but I was out in the country, and I was sitting by a lake, and I was watching this frog, and the frog, of course, I can't really say how the frog was feeling, but the frog seemed to be in a groove, and he had a tongue. You ever seen how they have that tongue? I don't know if it's all frogs, but some frogs. And this guy was on a roll, man. A little bug went by, got it, He was sitting on by the bank, ting, sing, sing. And he was just like, shooting from the left, shooting from the right, shooting, and he was like, really on the, on top of his game. And then I saw a bee went by, a small, whack, and it got this bee. And I thought, no way, zing, got the bee. And he was like, because it must have stuck. He was flip-flopping around. He was definitely in anxiety. So that stimulus response, the intelligence to see through the fallacy of that. That's good intelligence. Wait a minute. Let me restrain my senses. That takes intelligence, and most people don't have it. They think intelligence, if I can figure out how to satisfy my senses, if I can titillate as many senses as possible at the same time, that's intelligence. No, it's not. To see the futility. Another type of intelligence is the ability to conquer lust. I remember I was on the banks of the Jamuna, and there was a laundryman who there were several laundrymen, and they'd brought all their laundry loaded on a donkey. And they got all there were 3 or 4, I guess it was a break for the donkeys. They got a little free time there, So they took all the laundry off, and the laundry guys were washing it in the Jamuna. And the donkeys were kind of left to their own devices. Left to their own devices, what did the donkeys do? One donkey went after the she-donkey. And we saw the she, and everybody could see it, because he was like, hee-haw, and he was literally, and he was chasing after her, and she would put her 2 feet on the front and kick him in the head. You've seen it, Raj? He's seen it. He would kick her in the head. He was getting kicked in the head. Bang! He'd get kicked in the head, and he'd kind of like, and you could hear it. He'd kind of recover, and then he'd go lopping after her, and then she'd just whack him again, So, kick me once, kick me twice, the third time, get a little good intelligence. Wait a minute, So this is to see through lust is good intelligence. The Prabhupada says the intelligence is the ability to analyze. They say just do it. What's wrong with the slogan, just do it? Nike, just do it. That's what lemmings do. Just do it. Right off the cliff, You should think before you do it. So good intelligence means the ability to analyze. Well, wait. Alex, what is action and inaction and inaction, inaction? Is that the same as the Buddha saying, what's the sound of one hand clapping? Bhagavad Gita, one who sees inaction in action and action in inaction. That's an intelligent person. So that's not a sign of good intelligence. So what does that mean? One who sees inaction, action in inaction. One who sees action in inaction. Even in inaction, even if you're stationary, you still have karma. You're not doing your duty. You're not serving Krishna. And the mind is spinning all over the place. So even if you're inactive, there's action. There's a karmic reaction. And how can there be, okay, but how can there be inaction? Anyone want to take a shot at it? Yeah, you act for Krishna. You're devotees. Prabhupada practically, hardly slept. His life was a series of naps only. Working so hard for Krishna. But totally Prabhupada was traveling all over the world. I've mentioned, I guess it's the greatest hits day. Karandar got Prabhupada, one of the first, when he went to Japan for the printing, Dynapan, a Seiko self-winding wristwatch. Because winding the watch in those days in a battery was a hassle. So it was kinetic, as you move your wrist, My parents got me one of those. I was so hyperactive, I think I am now, but the mainspring popped on the thing. Because I was always doing something, But Prabhupada got one of those watches, and he was so economic in his motions, so sublime and no waste, that the thing stopped. I mean, that's pretty far out. Prabhupada was active 20 hours a day. Prabhupada was active, but the thing stopped. So in case you ever thought there was any difference between me and Prabhupada, there's a classic example right there. So that's another one. That's intelligence, to see action and inaction and inaction in action. We're almost done. And on the other side, if one has material intelligence, one becomes proud of that. And we have the example of Ravana with the staircase to heaven, and how did that end up? So, and the materialists are completely proud of their intelligence. So much so that they actually become atheistic. That there's the old joke that the atheist says to God, "Hey, we don't need you anymore." The atheist, there's many good scientists, don't get me wrong. The atheistic scientist who says that there's no God, it's all happening by laws of physics, there's no lawmaker, it's just knowing the laws which happen by random chance, which right in there is an oxymoron. But what was I going to say? So the joke. The atheistic scientist says, whatever you can do, we can do as well. We can now even create life, which is such a joke. I mean, all they can do is create the so-called... well, you'll get the point. They take, they've taken, whatever it is. By shooting electricity through a certain material, they've gotten amino acids to coagulate. Now, an amino acid is the beginning of a protein, which is the beginning of a single cell, which is the beginning of creating life. So, I mean, they are so... It's like if I give you a hubcap and I tell you it's a Cadillac. I mean, there's a couple more steps, my friend, So, but the point I'm trying to make is so the joke is the materialistic, atheistic scientist says, hey, we've got it all figured out. We can do everything you can do, God. We control the weather. We're seeding the clouds. We can get rain to take care of the drought. We can create life. We got stem cell research from fetal tissue, and we're growing livers and kidneys, and we're going to get rid of diabetes, and we got it all figured out. We don't need you anymore. We got our great economics. No more depressions. No more whatever. What did we just go through? But that aside, so run along. So God says, okay, fine. I've got my gopis. I've got Vrindavan. I got plenty to do. But before I hand over the steering wheel for you guys, let's do a little test. Now it's a Christian joke, so we've switched to a Christian paradigm. So the Christian joke, the way it goes, is that so God said, they took clay and formed it and breathed life into it, and there was man, and it was good. So God created life by taking clay, taking earth and breathed life into it. So the test is, okay, before I hand it, you do it. Here it is. He took, made a form, breathed life into it. Okay, now you do it by taking clay, breathe life into it. So the guy starts to push the clay. God says, hey, hang on a minute. Get your own clay. You follow? It's Prabhupada's joke. I heard Prabhupada tell that joke, And that Prabhupada says, from where's the lump, a big bang from where, So the point is that that pride of material intelligence and not being able to see the forest through trees. Well, hang on a minute. They'll tell you, Davies, this is the guy's last name, it came to me, and I wish Sadhaputta were around, because he was a professor at Cambridge, in astrophysicist. And Sadhaputta, and he was being interviewed by National Geographic. You talk about pumping out the rubbish. And the guy said, it was just shocking. And Sadhaputta played it for me. And he's a top astrophysicist. And he's making the case, he said, and it's the classic either-or question. He said, either everything happened by random chance, or it happened by, there must be design, and design means intelligence. So either it happened by intelligent design or it happened by chance. And he said, for me, the former is just untenable. The idea that there's intelligence and a designer, why? Because then I become subordinate. Then I have to dovetail, I have to comport my understanding and activities to fit within the constructs of that superior intelligence. And I'm so arrogant that I just can't accept that. I mean, it's like a foolish child who won't come out of the rain. You ever seen a child throw a tantrum who won't come out of the rain because they're so mad at their parents? And the parents say, come on, just come home, have dinner. It's your dinner's on the table. Come on now. Yeah. And you just think, you stupid child, how long will the child be able to stand in the rain? After a while, the kid's going to say, come on in. The door's open, the mom's there, dinner's on the table. So, but that arrogance to refuse, that's a lack of intelligence. And we'll end with this, as Prabhupada says, Tesham satatyuknam bhajitam pritipurvakam. Where does good intelligence come from ultimately? Krishna within the heart. And Guru Shastra Sadhu. So that's the blessings, just to exercise good intelligence, that's the real blessing. Okay, we can end there. Sorry we're a little over time. All glories for Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.